Midterm myths. That's the subject of tonight's Waters Words. All year we heard about a blue wave.
It is possible if there's a huge blue wave that the Senate could be in play.
I think you'll see a very large blue wave, and it will have consequences in both the House and Senate.
There's definitely a blue wave coming, and we got to get ready for it and stop lying to ourselves.
But on Tuesday night, that didn't happen.
The blue wave was looking more like a Smurf that was peeing.
The Democrats are having, so far, a lot of vote to come in, a disappointing night.
This is not a blue wave.
This is heartbreaking, though. It's heartbreaking. It's not a blue wave, but it's still a blue war.
In these statewide races, no signature win for Democrats.
Maybe it's the red wave on the Senate side, at least.
I feel more like I got purple rain.
Now, the media is worse than your local weatherman. No wonder nobody trusts the press. Going on this weekend, Republicans have won 3 additional seats in the Senate and lost only 30 seats in the House, just half of what Obama and Clinton lost in their first midterms. Plus, Republicans won key governorships in Florida, Ohio, Iowa, and New Hampshire, critical states to hold for President Trump's re-election campaign. But let's look at some more propaganda that went up in smoke. The media told us that Barack Obama still had juice, but Obama still has the midterm jinx. The former president went 1 for 5 for the big-ticket candidates that he campaigned for aggressively. Abrams for Georgia governor, lost. Gillum for Florida governor, losing. Nelson for Florida senator, losing. Donnelly for Indiana senator, lost. Only Sinema in Arizona is barely ahead right now, and that could change. Donald Trump went 9 for 11 in the big state races he rallied in during the last 2 weeks before the election. What about the celebrity endorsements and campaign appearances? Did those do the trick for Democrats? Stacey Abrams in Georgia, endorsed by Oprah, lost. Beto O'Rourke in Texas, endorsed by Beyonce, and LeBron James and others, lost. Andrew Gillum in Florida, endorsed by Diddy and Chelsea Handler, losing. Phil Bredesen in Tennessee, endorsed by Taylor Swift, lost. Celebrities have become the kiss of death for Democrats. Now, remember when the media told us the millennials hated Trump so much that they were going to turn out and vote in record numbers this midterm? No. Millennials made up just 12% of the electorate, the same percentage of millennials who turned out in the last 2 midterms. Speaking of percentages, let's look at the polls. Now, statewide polls were generally within the margin of error this year, but seemed to undercount Republicans by about 2% in key races. So let's look at the winning and losing pollsters in the big statewide matchups. Missouri. Now, Hawley won by about 6 points there. Now, the worst performing poll was NBC News' Marist, who had McCaskill up 3. And the best poll, Trafalgar Group, had Hawley +4. And in the Florida Senate, final result there, Scott, 0.2% margin of victory and still counting. Now, the worst poll there, Quinnipiac, had Nelson up 7. The best poll, again, Trafalgar Group, had Scott +2. And the Florida governorship, DeSantis winning with about 0.7% of the vote. Worst again, Quinnipiac had Gillum up 7%, and best again, Trafalgar Group with DeSantis 3 points ahead. And let's take a look at Arizona and the Senate. Final result there, Sinema with about a 0.5 percentage point victory, but that's still being counted. Worst there, NBC News Marist had Sinema up 6 points going into Election Day, and the best performing poll, Emerson, had Sinema up 1. Taking a look at Wisconsin governors, Evers beating Walker by a little over 1%. Worst poll again, NBC News Marist had Evers +10. And the best performing poll there, Marquette, which had it at a tie. And there you have it. The polling team at Trafalgar Group had a great year, but the folks over at NBC News and Quinnipiac, check your samples, guys. So leading up to 2020, when the media starts tipping the scales with predictions and push polls, telling you Obama has coattails, celebrity endorsements matter, and it's the year of the millennial, take a step back and remember these words. Waters' words. And here to react, Donald Trump for President Advisory Board member Gina Loudon, and Fox News national security strategist and author of Why We Fight, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. All right, ladies first. Gina, what do you think about Waters' words?
I love them, but I also think, Jesse, it's important to note that those who ran closest to the president on the Republican side of things tended to win.
True.
And the other thing that we're seeing is that we have a total new psychology where I believe that a lot of Democrats believe it's okay to steal elections or cheat to win because they believe this president is evil. And I think the psychology behind that has prompted them to act in some ways that we've never seen before in elections.
Yeah,
and I think
it
that's
looks
making
like
a major
they're
play in this
recounting
election
things
too.
now in Florida governor, Florida agriculture, Florida Senate, and I guess things are coming in a little late in Arizona, but we're going to get to that in a minute. Dr. Gorka, what did you think about Waters' words and all of the myths that were exposed on Election Day?
Jesse, is it not enough for you to have a world? Now you have to have words in your world as well.
I want it all, Dr.
Really,
Gorka. I want it all.
What is this, Julius Caesar? Look, you nailed it, and I'll add one thing. So Obama was an albatross around the neck of the Democrat candidates. Donald Trump brought victory. And also, the most important thing, these people who had been sold to America as the messiahs of the Democrat Party, Beto, Gillum, what happened? Crushed. I'll give you two examples of what really was the underlying dynamic. You have people like Ron DeSantis, who I campaigned for, who cleaved to the Make America Great Again agenda, was proud of being a soldier for Donald Trump's Make America Great Again agenda, and what happens? He wins. Then you have people such as the district where I live in Virginia, Barbara Comstock, incumbent Republican congresswoman, in her last flyer through my post box, doesn't mention anywhere Donald Trump, doesn't mention the last 2 years. What happens to the incumbent rhino? She gets crushed.
That's a great point. And
this tells you.
Yeah, and look at the policies that these people on the left came out with. Not only did they run far away from the mainstream of the Democratic Party, they went so far out there. If you look at Stacey Abrams, you look at Gillum in Florida, and you look at Beto O'Rourke. Those are pretty red states, middle America states. And Gina, they ran on gun confiscation, kneeling for the national anthem is patriotic, and socialized health care. Obviously, they went down in flames.
Well, Jesse, the Democrats have an identity crisis. Their votes exist in the middle of the country, and their money exists on the two extreme coasts and also on Wall Street. And so when they're getting their money from Hollywood and Silicon Valley and Wall Street, they are going to have to preach the issues that those crazy leftists espouse. But they're not going to be able to attract the votes of, say, the Midwestern states or the Southern states that used to, in some cases, be traditionally Democrat. So they have a real identity crisis here, Jesse, and I don't know how they fix it.
Yeah, and even the red state Senate Democrats, like in Missouri with McCaskill or Braun, in Indiana, Dr. Gorka, you know, they take all that outside money and then they pretend they're not Democrats and run on birthplace citizenship, run on even the wall, and run way to the middle. And those people still lost.
Yeah, well, thanks in part, I think, to Project Veritas and those undercover videos from O'Keefe where you see what they really mean when they're running as middle-of-the-road Democrats. But Gina's absolutely right. We should get down on bended knee and thank the founding fathers for their genius. This is why we have the Electoral College. This is why we've guaranteed that these urban centers that have become hives of radical left-wing politics can't dominate rural America. So whether it's 2016 or whether it's 2018, the Electoral College is incredibly important, and so is the system that we have. It's not first past the post. It's not this the popular vote that the Democrats are crying over.
I don't even know what that means in the Senate.
We are a republic, and God bless the founding fathers.
Right, they have all these pockets of crazy that have a lot of influence, and then it all evens out in the end. All right, Gina, you brought up the point earlier in the segment about stealing elections. And what we've seen, and I'm not accusing anybody of stealing elections, but I'm just saying it looks fishy down in Florida what's happening. All of a sudden, on Tuesday night, you have Gillum and you have Nelson, who lost, but you had Rick Scott win by about from 60,000 votes to 80,000 votes apiece. And then as the days go on, you start coming up with new votes. Now, you're looking at a woman here, her name is Snipe, and she's the Broward County in charge of elections, Brenda Snipes. And she all of a sudden has discovered tens of thousands of votes.
We're counting 5 pages or 6 pages for each of the people who voted.
But other counties have been able to do it.
But other counties didn't have 600,000 votes out there.
Well, Miami-Dade did.
Well, have you been inside Miami? Never mind. Let me go check. I'll check.
I don't know where they came from. She's supposed to have reported them. We don't know about the chain of custody. And all of a sudden, these margins have shrunk to the point, Gina, where now they're triggering automatic recounts. And I'm thinking Broward County, you know, Palm Beach County is the same types of shenanigans that we saw in 2000. What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, well, around here, Jesse, where I live, we've also got this problem in Palm Beach County. But Snipes has earned the moniker Sneaky Snipes because there have been so many problems.
Is that a Trump nickname, or did she get that on her own?
Not yet, but I'm sure it's forthcoming,
yeah.
Jesse. Watch for the tweet.
That's a good one.
But it's a known fact, and these problems go back with her for several years, and there have been several times where she's been in trouble for that. Why she's still there, I do not know, and I certainly hope that the Secretary of State takes over this entire process, because there's a lot of bad things going on here. I'll tell you that much. And it's known around Florida that this happens.
Yeah.
But Jesse, I think one of the really important things to note here is that, you know, stealing elections is evil, and nobody doubts that. But the left has so painted Donald Trump and his administration and even his supporters, like myself, as evil, that anything you do to them is okay, even if it's stealing elections. So I think we've gone from where,
it's
you know,
the end justify the means. If your enemy is evil, then it allows you to do pretty much anything. Dr. Gorka, you know, Dr. Loudon was mentioning Snipes in her history. She's been accused and I think found guilty of a few things: destroying ballots, illegally posting results before polls close. She's been sued for leaving amendments off the ballot. She is probably one of the most corrupt officials in that area, and she has a bad track record. I'm not sure why she's still in charge down there. What can be done about this? Now, I think Rick Scott's filing a lawsuit.
Yeah, I mean, Sneaky Snipes shouldn't be allowed to be county dog catcher. I mean, yesterday on Friday, we had demonstrations down in Florida. Make your voice heard. Make sure that the thugs, the cheats, and the liars don't win. Think about this. It's Saturday, and there's still almost 500,000 votes not counted in Florida. What is this, Vanuatu? Are we in Venezuela?
You know, it's so funny. One of the counties that it suffered so horrifically in the hurricane got all their votes in like that. No problem at all.
Yeah.
But they're having a lot of trouble
point.
here at Broward. And Dr. Loudon, I mean, I thought the Democrats were very concerned about integrity of these elections, Russian interference, you know, the sacred ballot box. And now, all of a sudden, they're discovering thousands of ballots days after the fact. Sounds fishy.
Well, yeah, Jesse, they're concerned about Russian interference, but they'll create a fake Russian dossier. They're concerned about women's rights, but they'll create false rape accusations to try to take down Kavanaugh.
Dr. Loudon, speaking of fake dossier, guess who the Democrats just flew down to be in charge of this election situation? Mark Elias, who is this Democratic operative that was in charge of paying for the fake dossier and hiring Christopher Steele. I mean, it's like,
Jesse,
where does this go now?
Is
Al Gore going to come back too?
I'm going to make a prediction right now.
Yeah.
So, if this attempt to steal the election if it works for the Democrats, if they steal the election in Florida, there will be no mention made of Russia ever again, ever again. If they don't get to steal it, and the Republican wins, suddenly everybody's going to talk about Russia. They couldn't care less about the truth. It's about power. That's all it's about.
All right. Doctors, I got to run. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.